I've seen too many people rush out the door with a $150 portable charger that can barely keep a phone alive for an hour, then wonder why their whole campsite lights out the moment they try to run a mini fridge. The disappointment is real, and it's the exact reason I hesitated before even looking at the ECOFLOW Delta 3 Max Plus. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I kept asking myself was simple: does this beast actually solve the everyday power outage anxiety without turning into a garage door-sized money pit? First off, let's talk about the kind of moments that make you reach for a portable power station. I've used a couple of them during weekend overnights in the woods, during a recent blackout that left my whole neighborhood in the dark, and even as a backup for a small home office when the grid flickers. In each scenario, the need isn't just more watts, it's consistent, quiet power that won't drain itself before the night is over, and a way to know exactly how much juice you have left without pulling out a manual. The Delta 3 Max Plus pushes 3000 watts of continuous output, with an X-Boost mode that can briefly crank up to 3800 watts. That's enough to run a 2000 watt microwave, a 200 watt electric heater, or a small inverter for a power tool bench. In practice, I ran a 200 watt electric saw for about 45 minutes straight while the unit was charging from a solar panel, and the saw never stuttered. The 2048 watt-hour LiFePO battery gave me roughly 12 hours of low-draw usage, enough for lights, a mini fridge, and a phone charger during a typical overnight stay. The fact that the battery chemistry is LiFePO means you don't have to worry about the usual "don't let it drop below 20% rule. I could let it run down to about 10% without noticing any permanent loss of capacity. What really sets this model apart from the cheaper alternatives is the combination of ultra-quiet operation and the 10 milliseconds instant transfer time. The fans stay barely audible. I could hear a distant owl while the unit was powering my camping kitchen, which is a far cry from the whirring nightmare I experienced with a $180 unit that sounded like a hairdryer on full blast. That instant transfer means when the grid drops, the power station flips on almost immediately, preventing those dreaded reboot loops on sensitive electronics like laptops or routers. In my blackout test, my Wi-Fi router stayed online the whole time because the Delta 3 Max Plus jumped in before the router's internal battery could even sense a drop. Charging flexibility is another practical strength. The unit offers 5 distinct ways to refill: AC wall outlet, 12V car socket, 240V solar input, a fast charge USB-C port, and even a small portable generator. The most impressive number I logged was 43 minutes from a 240V wall outlet to 80% capacity. For people who camp in remote spots, the ability to pair two 200-watt solar panels and still see a decent charge rate makes the unit feel less like a backup and more like a true off-grid companion. Now, no product is perfect, and there are trade-offs that matter once you bring it into daily life. The first thing you'll notice is weight. At roughly 45 pounds, the Delta 3 Max Plus is not something you'll want to tote up a mountain trail. If your primary use case is backpacking or ultralight hiking, this isn't the right tool. It shines when the power demand is high but the mobility requirement is moderate. Think car camping, RVs, tiny homes, or a garage workshop. The second practical weakness is price. It sits well above the $300 $500 range that most casual buyers expect for a portable station. However, when you break down the cost per watt-hour, especially considering the 10-year life expectancy of the LiFePO cells, the math starts to look less aggressive. Who should definitely consider this unit? Families who live in areas prone to storms and want a reliable backup for essential appliances, remote workers who need a silent, uninterrupted power source for laptops and monitors, and outdoor enthusiasts who run high-draw gear like portable fridges or electric cooktops. The unit also makes sense for DIY hobbyists who run a bench saw or a 3D printer that can't afford sudden power loss. If you already own a solar setup, the Expandable 10 kWh capability means you can stack extra battery modules later and keep using the same inverter and charging ecosystem. Who should walk away? Anyone whose power needs are limited to charging phones and a couple of LEDs. A smaller, cheaper model will do that with far less heft. If you're looking for a backpack-friendly solution for a weekend hike, the weight and size will be a deal-breaker. And if you're hoping to replace a whole home's electricity supply during a prolonged outage, you'll still need additional batteries or a generator. The 2 kilowatt-hour capacity, while generous for portable use, won't run a central air conditioner for more than a few hours. In real-world use, the biggest value driver isn't the headline 3000 watts, it's the confidence that the unit won't shut off mid-task. When you're